Like, subscribe, and comment.
On 27 May, NASA will launch people in space from US. So for the first time since 2011, when the Space Shuttle Atlantis roared aloft on its final push. This time, astronauts will be riding to the International Space Station is not on a NASA rocket, but aboard vehicles bought from the private space company SpaceX, the Dragon to capsule atop a Falcon 9 rocket. The occasion marks yet another milestone for the private California company, which over the past decade has gone from underdog to dominator. SpaceX now handles about 2/3 of NASA's launches, including many research payloads, with flights as cheap as $62 million, roughly 2/3 the price of a rocket from the United Launch Alliance competitor. SpaceX's goals are not limited to low Earth orbit. Last month it was selected to design a moon lander, and it is steadily testing a huge heavy-lift rocket called Starship that could carry people to Mars. Researchers see both benefits and risks in the company's increasing power. It has lowered the cost of spacelift through innovations such as reusable stages and fairings, saving NASA money. With its outsized capacity, Starship could cheaply put large telescopes in orbit and heavy science experiments on moons and planets. Yet SpaceX, with a fast and loose Silicon Valley mindset, has overlooked the potential for its technologies to contaminate night skies and pristine planets. Some worry the company, led by brazen billionaire Elon Musk, could jeopardize NASA's long-standing culture of safety. NASA tries to model everything to the end. Between 2006 and 2008, the first 3 flights of its Falcon 1 rocket ended in failure. SpaceX pivoted to a larger Falcon 9 rocket in 2010 and began to deliver cargo to the IS-4 NASA 2 years later. Since then, its ambitions have grown. A lot of other space companies are trying to win contracts, says Jonathan McDowell, an astrophysicist at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. SpaceX is trying to get to Mars. It turns out that having a goal can be economically successful. The upcoming crewed flight could displace the Russian rockets NASA has hired at a hefty price to carry humans to this since 2011. Cheaper, more frequent flights could improve the biomedical and physical science experiments aboard the station, says industry analyst Laura Forchik, or of the space consultant from Stralytical. More people equals more research, she says. SpaceX has boosted NASA's science in other ways, delivering the climate-observing Jason-free satellite and the planet-seeking transiting exoplanet to survey satellite to orbit. In 2022, is set to launch the Psyche mission to a metallic asteroid, in the first NASA launch of a Falcon Heavy, which sits between the Falcon 9 and Starship in its propulsive power. But it's the company's upcoming Starship that has designers of science missions salivating. SpaceX has not announced a date for an inaugural flight, but has built 6 prototypes at a pace of nearly 1 per month. 3 have been accidentally destroyed in testing. The Steel-off spacecraft and its Supreme booster stand 120 meters tall, towering over the Saturn V that carried people to the moon last year. Musk said full reusability and thrifty use of propellant would drop the cost of each Starship launch to $2 million. Todd suggests $10 million per flight might be more realistic. The rocket's 9-meter diameter cargo hold could easily accommodate giant celestial observatories, such as the proposed habitable Exoplanet Observatory, which will directly image distant planets. One reason for the endless delays afflicting the James Webb Space Telescope, the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope, has been the need to fold up its segmented 6.5-meter mirror to fit aboard a European Ariane 5 rocket. Says astrophysicist Martin Elvis, a viable Starship could also create political pressure to scupper the Space Launch System sleaze. The NASA-developed heavy-lift rocket that is supposed to power the agency back to the moon and onto Mars in December 2019. NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine said it could cost $900 million per launch if it ever launches. Its debut has repeatedly slipped, and is now expected at the end of 2021, just 1 or 2 years later. It is supposed to carry astronauts to lunar orbit, but McDowell adds it will remain in production for very long. If Starship works, that's the death knell for sleaze, he says. SpaceX, along with SpaceX, put forth the Starship spacecraft as its lander, which would launch atop its own booster, a NASA-built one. There would be plenty of room for scientists to piggyback experiments, such as a radio telescope to peer back to the earliest era of galaxy formation from the moon's far side, says Steve Clark, NASA's Deputy Associate Administrator for Scientific Exploration. Yet SpaceX's haste to go big could also cause trouble for scientists. The Starship lander will be much heavier than the spindly lunar module of the Apollo. The dust and rocks it kicks up could rise into lunar orbit, creating an interfering haze for other landers and threatening satellites and outposts. Elvis says, The company's long-standing goal to colonize Mars has the potential to contaminate the planet with terrestrial microbes that could confound researchers, he adds. SpaceX did not respond to requests for comment for this article. In recent months, the company has aroused the ire of astronomers with the launch of hundreds of Starlink satellites, which are intended to deliver high-speed internet to remote areas. From the ground, the satellites appear surprisingly bright because of their low orbits, and they have left disruptive trails on the cameras of survey telescopes. I don't think they intended to screw up people's skies, says Megan Donaghy, president of the American Astronomical Society. It was just because nobody asked that question of them. SpaceX is trying to mitigate this. Some satellites in the next batch set to launch soon after the crew test will be blackened and equipped with visors that block sunlight. Donaghy praises the company for working with researchers to address the problems. We're all in science, she says, but the episode has reminded space scientists not to underestimate SpaceX's potential impacts on their fields. Although Musk is often too bullish about the timescales for his projects, McDowell says he tends to realize his dreams in the end, and Musk has strengths and weaknesses. His optimism is kind of both.
Like, subscribe, and comment.